We have the April 30th meeting of the Conservation Commission. We'll stand and salute the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First hearing tonight is for Heritage Real Estate, 59 East Shore Road. Anybody here for that? Mr. Potter.
Oh, he's on a vacation.
How are you tonight, Len?
Very good.
Good.
Okay, Len Potter here for Michael Defusco Heritage Real Estate. 59 East Shore Drive, which is located at Massachusetts Meadows at the far south end of the dead end of East Shore Drive. This is located right here. We have a small lot, we have wells, the owner's well, and adjacent wells for abutters. So it's a very tight lot, so the only solution we could come up with was a D9 system with a bottomless sand filter. So the smallest footprint that we can possibly do. The entire lot's in the flood zone, and the system itself, the bottomless sand filter, is in the buffer zone. The flood zone here it's an A zone, elevation 15. The cesspool is located right here, the existing, the well's right here. So we're able to push it a little bit further away. We get 51 feet from the well to the distribution system, bottomless sand filter. We have a high water table, rather poor soils, and that's the best we can do with what we got here. I'm 72 feet from the river's edge of the marsh to the edge of the bottomless sand filter, and that's the best I can do. Board of Health has approved, subject to conservation approval.
Thank you, Len.
Mr. Chairman, members, this is Heritage Real Estate, ADMD LLC, 59 East Shore Road. This is a request for determination of applicability filed by Westport Environmental Design. The report date is April 9th, 2024. At the time we missed the last meeting with this, Board of Health has since approved this application. Description of work: the applicant has filed to repair the sewage disposal system with a new bottomless sand filter design to meet Title V. The current cesspool will be commissioned per Title V requirements. The system is proposed outside the 50-foot buffer zone, but entirely within a flood zone area, AE elevation 15. The setback from the edge of a wetland along the inlet to the Westport River is 72 feet. The location is along the location of leaching field is along the residence within the lawn area. The work area will be staked with erosion controls, and this will be the limit of all work. Erosion controls to remain until the area is stabilized. Resource areas is the flood zone. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve the applicant to repair the sewage disposal system at 59 East Shore Road with a negative box 2 determination, with the condition the erosion controls will be the limit of all work. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, anybody? So we have Board of Health, we're good with that.
Is it just a typo? It's 39 at the top of the page and 59?
Yeah, I know, I corrected it here on my paper, yes. Thank you. It is 59 East Shore Road, for the record. I'm sorry about that confusion.
Oh, good.
All right, any other questions? If not, a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with Chris's recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Tom? Second, yes. Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the soil permit for Regal Earthworks, Inc., 1184 and 1188 Main Road. They've requested a 2-week continuance. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct.
2 weeks. All right, so whatever that is, like 14, 13. 2 weeks from now, the next meeting. When is it? 14th. Okay, so that'll be the 14th of May. Do you have a motion to continue that hearing until May 14th?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, that was Phil and Kevin. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. All right, next we have Clayton Manchester, ANRAD, 329 Tickle Road, to determine if the resource areas depicted on the plan are accurate.
Signed it in the wrong place.
We already have the green cards.
Yes,
Right,
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
those were given this afternoon.
Whenever you're ready, Greg.
We're doing stuff, look engineering for 17 property management in Manchester. Parcel of land on Tickle Road, about a quarter mile from north of 177 on the west side of the property. It was subdivided in 1979, 5-lot subdivision. 2 lots were developed, the rest of them were not. This street here is essentially a paper street. You can see a 5-lot subdivision. But these two of these lots are completely underwater. So we're here again to determine where the resource areas are and see what can be done with the property. So to that, we have 3 delineations of BBW, the 100 line here, starting at flag 101, going in this direction up to 114. 200 line over here, which is just west of the road, getting 201 and going up to 210, eventually tying into the Keller property, which is the north of the water. And then following the site visit with the agent, we also delineated 300 line in the southwest corner of the property shown over here. We have a stream on the property, it's a perennial stream, it breaks apart here in a swampy area. So we do have a short length of riverfront, which is shown here, just south of the paper street. There's also a floodplain on here, it's given on numerous dozen map amendments that get elevation 131.1. If you look on the maps, the flood plain is delineated pretty much right at the water's edge. The surface elevation of South Watucket Pond is elevation 131, so it's in the swamp somewhere. It's not delineated on this plan. I'm not asking for that to be approved as part of the SANRAD. Whenever they decide what they can do with the property, we'll address that next. I suspect, given where the buffer zones are, they'll at least have the notice of intent. So that's pretty much where I am.
Thank you, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, members, Clayton Manchester, 329 Tickle Road. This is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by South Coast Engineering with Greg Nicholas here tonight representing. The report date is April 24th, 2024. The file number for the project is SE802739. Site visit was also conducted with the applicant's representative on April 24th, 2024. Detailed description of work. The site was walked with the applicant's representative to review the extent of the delineation shown. The property is located along the Watuppa Pond area and contains an old cottage with adjacent open land. The property is subdivided into lots. I did hand out the attachment. The access road was never constructed. The 100 and 200 series flags are accurate where no changes were made. As Greg mentioned, the 200 series is along the roadway. The 100 series is closer towards that cul-de-sac in the rear of the property. We added a new flag series 301 through 304 to a section of BVW that crosses from the abutting site. Greg represented that in the corner there of the property. The site is also subject to a portion of the Rivers Protection Act for the jurisdiction of the unnamed stream that flows under Tickle Road to Watuppa Pond. The area is also subject to flooding and shall be noted on the ORAD. Although Greg did not establish an elevation, I can state for the commission that there was flooding right up to the edge of the roadway with that, storm events we had this winter months. So there is potential for that to flood. Nothing beyond the residence that is occupying one of the lots in the middle of this project, but nonetheless, this area does have those issues on that side. Recommendations, or rather the resource areas here, riverfront, bordering land subject to flooding, and bordering vegetated wetland. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should issue an approval of the delineation on an order of resource area delineation for file number SE802739, wetland flags 101 through wetland flag 114, wetland flag 201 to 210, wetland flag 301 through 304, and also the notation that the area is subject to flooding, and also riverfront jurisdiction. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, great. Any questions from the table?
Do we know this unnamed stream is perennial?
Yes, it is. Rivers protection applies, correct.
Okay.
All right, any questions from the audience? No, nobody's- okay. We'll look for a motion then.
So I'll move to issue an approval with the delineation as represented on the plan presented to the commission, and the area subject to flooding, riverfront, and jurisdiction.
You have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Jason. That was Phil made the motion. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous now.
Thank you.
Good night, Greg. All right, Paul and Melanie Baker, notice of intent, 3 Richmond Pond Drive, SE 802729, construct garage, upgrade septic system, modify driveway, grading, landscaping, deck on dwelling in flood zone and buffer zone.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, friend.
All right, good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. Tonight we have a proposed garage with septic system, driveway, and accessory grading, filed under a notice of intent. The work is to take place in a buffer zone and also in a velocity zone. The proposed septic system is being upgraded to an advanced treatment with a Cresby. We're doing this not because of a failure, but to allow for the grading change to support the existing garage, proposed garage in this area. The garage itself will be placed in the velocity zone. It is designed with column structure so that the walls can fail, meeting FEMA flood requirements for the building code. When we were introduced to the project, the house was already under renovations with building permits, but we are including the proposed deck as that is work that is still being, or to be completed when we got involved in the site. Just to make clarification, it looks a little bit oversized, but the existing driveway is going to be abandoned, and this new proposed driveway is what we are proposing to access to the garage and to pull over here. To be able to drive into the garage, we're gonna have to make some grading changes. Instead of actually picking up, we're actually gonna be cutting into the ground a little bit. So at this elevation 13, 14, and 15, we're gonna be cutting it to 12.2. And in the back, we're gonna be coming up on a steeper slope, which we'll be using either riprap or stump grindings to stabilize that slope coming down. To make sure that the septic doesn't break out through that slope, we're proposing a 40 mm liner on the edge over in here, which will go below the breakout requirement for the septic system itself. And today, the Board of Health actually asked us to do another perk because the existing perks were done a while back. So we did another perk today with the Board of Health as witness. Perk worked out exactly like what the previous perks were with no water table, no issues. So I'm happy to try to address any questions or concerns you may have.
I'm going to read the report, and then we'll get to the questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members Paul and Melanie Baker, 3 Richmond Pond Lane. This is a notice of intent application filed by Zenith Engineering with Jamie Bissonette present. Report date is April 24, 2024. There is a file number for this project. It's SE 802729. Site visit was also on April 24, 2024. Detailed description of the project. The owner has filed to construct an unattached garage and sewage disposal system in the flood zone and buffer zone to Richmond Pond. The site falls within a velocity elevation 19 flood zone, and the proposed garage must be designed in accordance with the building code for flood-prone areas. The structure will be constructed into the existing hill and will require removing material. The garage must have breakaway walls designed for the lower level below the elevation 19. The sewage disposal system is to be placed just within the edge of the 2 flood zone areas, the V zone and the A zone line. The system is far away from all resource areas as is allowed on the property. I suggest as a condition, roof runoff be infiltrated into the groundwater area. The large driveway, as Jamie kind of clarified here, will be increased in size within the existing lawn area. Shall be noted that Richmond Pond Lane has been flooded across the access from the excessive rain. It is suggested a driveway be smaller than is proposed. again, we've had some concerns I did address to Jamie, and I think the members will discuss that afterwards, but there is currently a driveway and a garage under the structure today, correct? You're asking to remove that driveway entirely?
That's correct. This driveway that is in this area here will be removed, and this new proposed driveway over in here will be replaced. And what this does is this allows the owners to be able to drive in, back up, and pull out, and if they have guests, they can park over here as well as.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So this again is a flood zone VE elevation 19 with borderline AE zone. This is a buffer zone project. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation should, in this case, should approve with conditions of a new plan providing a smaller driveway footprint accessing the garage only. The garage must be built in accordance with FEMA regulations for flood-prone areas. All walls below flood elevation must be breakaway design. Roof runoff directed into a stone dry well system, and slope stabilization must be implemented with vegetation planted to maintain that area from eroding. I think that's a little more concerning than leaving it barren and utilizing stump grindings. However, after this report was written, we've had some numerous, I'd say we got 3 letters from abutting property owners. Some questions have come up since, and you've kind of made it kind of one concern of mine. What is the existing garage now used for if they no longer need a driveway? That is a concern. There's also concerns that the neighbors believe they turn that area into living space, which isn't our jurisdiction, but we have and have referred this to the building department. I am also aware that the construction to date has taken place within all the areas that they can. So there is no more area to do work except this little garage location. They did do an addition off the rear of the house. I wasn't aware the deck was part of this application, but the deck is proposed to be expanded, or is it just proposed to be rehabbed? Because there's already a deck there.
So again, before, the deck was gone before I got involved in the project. I was brought on from the garage.
So the deck's gone now? Because I know in the assessor's photos, it's still
It's
present.
back on, exactly. So we do have plans and photos of the deck being there. To say that they match up exactly, I can't say because we didn't locate it or measure.
All right, so I'm not arguing with that, but all these questions, I think, I'm leaning towards the commission maybe looking at a continuance, but I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna open it up to the members.
Certainly.
Why are you abandoning the garage now? Why do you, that's my big question.
Well, so my understanding is the contractor's meeting, the building inspector is gonna be on site to do an inspection tomorrow. I believe that they plan on enclosing the bottom part of the house. It's a full foundation, huge concrete wall. I believe that they're gonna no longer use this as a garage, and I believe the intention is for them to have a 2-car garage over on the side, separate from the house. I believe it's to be part of the aesthetic of what they're looking to have on site here.
Does that garage currently have breakaway walls, or isn't it not supposed to be inhabited
So
as a flood zone?
current FEMA regulation and pre-existing regulations are different. The building inspector was involved with the house component, I wasn't. So I would assume, since he's the FEMA compliance officer, that everything that's been done will be done with the existing houses in conformance. This proposed garage definitely has the breakaway walls with the pile-like structure. Those plans have already been drawn up. That was presented to me at the inception of the project.
So you can have one structure with breakaway walls and the other one doesn't have it?
Yes, because the
I-
existing structure was existing, but I
I know.
I understand. Yes.
Because are you allowed to add living space to an area that's in a, I suppose not living space that's in a flood zone, whether it's pre-existing or not?
Living space has to be above that elevation 22, approximately 2 foot above that main elevation of 19. How, that's a question you can ask them. Is this a bedroom? Is this to be, a septic is being tied to it, so,
So,
that was also a question of the neighbors.
sure, so the downstairs, there's no increase in bedrooms. The downstairs is not gonna be proposed as bedrooms. I'm not even sure what's gonna be proposed, but I do know it will not be bedrooms. The bedroom count is just for the existing structure upstairs.
And that's 3.
That is a 3-bedroom house, correct?
And you're tying the septic into the new garage?
No, it's just into the house. So this right here is the house itself.
There's a bathroom shown on the plans for the garage that it was submitted to the
For this
building.
garage building here,
Submitted to the building department with a room above.
we have no connection to this garage to the septic system at all.
Okay. Yeah, because again, just so the commission has clarity, this was red flagged by me because they filed a building permit. And I stopped it and said, you guys got to file. So that building permit had plans portraying a dormered second floor with a bathroom and a quite, not a huge area, but the whole upstairs was an open room. So that's where I automatically assumed they showed a bathroom. I just assumed you were tying this to that as well.
We do not have that done. Maybe in the future the client would look to, and obviously they'd have to come back in front of the commission because it's work in the flood zone, and that would be work within the 100-foot buffer as well.
Well, I would just say to you for the record that you need to modify the plans that are with that building permit that's being circulated to the departments. That
Okay.
was filed by the contractor, RGS, or I think he was filed. Yes.
I can
Yeah.
check on that as well.
Yeah.
So Richmond Pond Drive,
So,
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I would just say on this issue, just as a comment, it's the practice of the Board of Health to require a deed restriction when we approve a septic system, which is where the lot is, where the system is sized for a certain number of bedrooms. So,
Yeah.
so there'll be a restriction filed in the Registry of Deeds that will limit the number of bedrooms on that site to 3 bedrooms. But I also agree with Chris that we would want to see whatever the Board of Health approves, it's going to be a plan consistent with what you actually intend to construct now.
Understood. I will find out. I was unaware of the second floor,
Right.
so I'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen pictures of Richmond Pond Drive after the last couple rainstorms
I've been down there
underwater.
with the road with flood.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yep.
So the driveway that you're putting in, which I'm assuming you're not going to use asphalt, you use some kind of gravel or,
Yes, we actually have it noted as a gravel driveway, so it'll be
well,
perfect.
my other thing is I have a gravel driveway, although my driveway I used to, it was flat, but it becomes concrete-like after you drive on it long enough,
Mhm.
and it basically becomes impervious. So you're taking that much grass away, and you're adding, eventually you're gonna be, I mean, it may not be impervious as like an asphalt or cement, but it's certainly not gonna absorb the water. It's gonna sheet flow even more into the Richmond Pond Drive, which is, to me is kind of an issue as well. But I think the first thing you need to have matching plans. I mean, plans.
Well, I did ask for infiltration, so I think this site may
For the
be
driveway.
capable of allowing, not so much for the driveway, but for the roof runoff anyway,
Yeah.
so. But the driveway is carved into the hill, so it's not gonna be as dramatic as the elevation coming from the back. So this truthfully should have something protecting that garage from the water coming off that higher elevation, right?
Well, yeah, and so.
Do you have a perimeter drain or anything?
We're swaling it around, so in the test pits today, believe it or not, we dug down, I believe a little over 10 feet, didn't hit groundwater. And
Mhm.
previous test pits had the same exact
Mhm.
information. So all we did in the back here was actually swale around the backside of the building.
But with the concern for flooding, that may be something you guys want to at least have discharge into a dry well system or some sort of,
You mean for the roof itself?
and for what that gradient you're cutting in the back there. You're going to have all that septic slope draining downhill towards the back of that garage.
Got it, yeah.
And
So-
then just to swale it around is not helping the situation. Now you're putting all that water right down onto the roadway, which, again, I was pretty shocked to see how high the water was. But in the height of this, the water was right up to the edge of that driveway, all the way down Richmond Pond Drive.
Yeah, we found it to be somewhere just below elevation 6. And we actually kind of looked at what's going on with some of that, and not to go crazy, but on what we're finding is that when you look at the bigger picture with water, this is the pond, this being the ocean, we're finding that the outlet actually runs somewhere above 5 out in here. So if there's any type of sedimentation building up in the outlet from this pond, that's gonna obviously delay or impact the flood waters in this development. So, yeah, we do understand about the 5.5 elevation 6 with the flooding in the roadway. We don't believe that our site is gonna make any impact on it at all. I'm not opposed to roof drains. I think we have pretty decent soils. It's like 13 minutes an inch. So I definitely will talk to the client about adding those in for the roof. I think the driveway isn't gonna add any it won't add any impact to the flooding situation that's happening here, at all. But, we're not opposed to roof drains.
No, I would only ask him through the chair if we could have you consider writing a support letter to that effect, that you've done, not necessarily drainage calcs, but you've looked at the pre and post, and you don't believe that this will adversely affect it.
Yeah.
I am fully aware of the cause of the issue at the Richmond Pond outlet. The town has taken it upon themselves on 2 occasions to get in there and attempt to help these people, but the town does not have the equipment. I had some nice individuals on the roadway speak with me, and I had some people that just were adamantly angry at me that it was my fault. They need to, and for the record, this is a private road. This is not town accepted way. So anything these individuals do is something that they have to look at. And I've encouraged them to get together with someone as yourself to look at maybe raising some sort of periphery edge of this road to stop that flooding from coming in such a manner.
That would be the ultimate fix, is to get it somewhere.
And we are allowing them to dredge this area, but they need, the plovers are here now, and again, so things have been strapped against them, and we get 3 inches of rain, and only 1 inch of water is discharged, so I can understand. And the channel actually even got more messed up with that early April storm we had. It actually silted in some of the areas that we had excavated to the point now where it's even shallower probably, so.
Makes sense.
And it's a herring run, so that also comes into play this time of year as well, so, okay?
Understood, all right.
So that outlet going to the ocean, that's a herring run as well?
The herring come into this pond, they breed, and then sometime around the fall, you'll see them turn around, the young ones make their way out. But every year is different, but on a good moon tide, you'll be surprised how much water actually gets close to that pond, and it doesn't take much for them to make it into the pond.
So what do you want to see, a new plan with the roof runoff and?
I would ask that he correspond with the owner, let him know that there's been neighbors' concerns, and that if he could incorporate some additional measures to help alleviate that. Make note on this that there is no room schedule, or whatever use above is not tied into the septic system, which I'll again, those plans, forgive me, but those were the plans that I have been going along with the building department, so
Understood, no,
I wouldn't want them to be not looked at, but also, it did on those plans call it an A zone, not a V zone. So, but
So do you have any other questions on the table? Anybody in the audience? So what are we looking for, a 2-week continuance?
I would say a 2-week continuance, Mr. Chairman, if he believes that is adequate for his, then that would be on May 14th.
Right. And you're gonna get a new plan to the building department too, that shows no bathroom?
Well, it's either my plan's gonna change, well, mine's definitely going to, or theirs is, or both, so.
Well, if it does the changes with us, then it's gonna change the board of health and everything, and
Yep.
then it's another consideration, that's,
Well, this is gonna change because I've gotta add roof drains
okay.
and look at other measures I have.
Well, we'll do 2 weeks and then, does somebody want to speak? No? We'll do 2 weeks and then, if you need more time, you can just let Chris know. We can just,
Thank
you don't have to come in, we can just extend it.
Yeah, and Chris, could you just clarify how we ended up with 2 sets of plans?
The building department plans came about when the contractor filed to build the garage. We have an office process where it goes from the Board of Health to me. So I caught it, and I told the guy he's in a velocity zone, he needs to file. Zenith got involved from that point on. So the permit has sat in my office since middle of March, I'd say, or mid-March. And I just happened to look at the plans and corresponding to what he was doing, the sizes are the same, but I noticed on their plans they had the room above. So I just assumed that's what was being proposed.
In the plans he's referencing are just structural plans,
They're architectural
Got it,
drawn,
okay.
they're architectural plans
You
drawn.
just see how it could be convenient that,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
We got 2 engineers, yes.
separate,
That's not it.
yeah, okay.
All right, so, all right, Paul and Melanie Baker, notice of intent, SE 80-2729, 2-week continuance until, was it June?
May
May
14th.
14th. A motion?
Motion to continue 2 weeks.
Second.
That was Kevin, seconded. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
Have a good night.
Have a nice night.
See you in 2
Take
weeks.
care, no worries.
None of them, I don't- you only have to wait for them.
Yeah, that wasn't the right folder.
No, that wasn't the right vote. That's okay, this is, who do we have next? Alan Harrington, notice of intent, 1278 Drift Road, which I think is this one.
Look at the folder tag.
I mean, it's there.
That's a dock, that's Harrington, yes.
All right.
Good
How are you?
Good evening. Joe Fantasy Engineering, 27 Sakara Ridge.
Let me one second, let me just read the whole. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Alan Harrington, notice of intent for 1278 Drift Road, construct a dock in the flood zone and land subject to flow, and there's no file number yet, correct?
No file number yet, I do not believe so.
Okay, all set, thank you.
Yep. I do have a file number.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, SE 080-2731. The proposed work involves construction of a new dock over a wetland resource area in a portion of the Westport River. Like I mentioned with the file number, it spans for a total length from mean high water of 71.5 feet and a total of 74.5 feet, including the access steps. The salt marsh resource area is shown on the plan. The work was done by Princeton Company biologist Karen Beck. The piers will start, the fixed dock portion is spanned for 12 feet each. There's a 8x12 floating dock for a total of 160 square feet at the end with a gangway connection. All work to be done from a barge.
Do you have a copy of the comments from the DEP?
In email form.
You do.
Oh, no, sorry.
I'll give it back to you, I just want to take a look at it. Thank you. Oh, we do have this. All right, Chris, you want to read the report?
That is DMF,
All right,
right?
I don't see the,
Oh, you see,
with the file number
I'm
on the DEP.
Yeah, I didn't even see DMF comments either.
I'm sorry.
No worries, that's not your fault.
The DEP is here.
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan Harrington, 1278 Drift Road. Principe Engineering is representing this notice of intent application. File number, as mentioned, is 2731 for the project. The report date is April 24th, 2024. This is subject to Division of Marine Fisheries and also Marine Services comments for the dock that is proposed. Detailed description of the work. The owner is filed to allow the construction of a 26-foot fixed pier, 24-foot gangway, and a 26-foot float on the east branch of the river. The area has salt marsh, land subject to flooding, and shellfish resource areas. The comments from Mass DMF are pending. I have not seen them. The dock will be designed to allow public access under the dock with a height of 5 feet 2 inches proposed, which the minimum required is 5 feet. Float stops are also part of the design float to prevent it from grounding. East-west orientation of this dock should allow maximum sunlight for penetration for the salt marsh to continue to thrive. Maximum pile distance also of 12 feet to lessen the overall impact to the marsh and the shellfish resource area is chosen with this design. The short fixed pier length meets the dock policy design requirements for our policy and regulations. Resource areas to be impacted is the salt marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage, shellfish habitat, and land under the river. Recommendations, Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed fixed pier, gangway, and float at 1278 Drift Road, as shown on plan dated April 2nd, 2024. This is with the file number SE 802731, and I did put pending MDMF comments, but he does have those comments. I would only ask that it would be pending Marine Services comments, which I did send him a copy of this midstream.
So there are no comments from the DEP other than, you know, either 91. And these are standard comments. They talk about this negatively impact the shellfish, so.
Mass Division of Marine Fisheries has standard comments. They lessen the activity due to work from a barge. Correct, and it stages as much material on land as possible, and time of year restrictions for the migratory fish that we have in the river.
So.
That
we
is
just
all,
need-
Mr.
So it's just,
Chairman.
all we need is the Marine Services. comment.
Marine Service comment letter is all we need.
Okay. Do you guys, anybody have any questions at the table regarding this doc? No. Anybody in the audience have any questions? First time I've got a doc with no questions. All right, well, we can, if no one has any questions, we can support a motion.
Something to complain.
Yeah, somebody's gonna complain about something.
So, we have a motion pending the harbor master or the Marine Services comments.
I move that we approve the proposed fixed pier gangway and float at 1278 Drift Road pending MAD comments, which we have.
All right, just the Marine Services, the harbor master. All right, do you have a second to Bert's motion?
I'll second it.
Second from Jason, all in favor? Opposed? Opposed? No, all right. It's almost above the head.
Just for future reference, you guys are supposed to send it to the Marine Services Director, which is our harbor master. No worries, I sent it to him, so we should be getting copies. He's usually very generalized in his comment, just to have reflective material on
Flood material flow stops.
the seaward side of the float.
Move the shellfish, if there's any, shellfish.
All right,
flow
for
stuff.
future reference, all right?
Thank you very much.
No worries, have a good night. Did you give him back his paperwork?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
All right. We have DNF comments in our folder. There.
We did,
We did.
all right.
They must just came off.
They might have, and I,
No applicable channel or anything.
All right, I'm gonna let Jason handle the next two hearings.
do you need a place to go?
No, I'm just, don't leave it.
Okay.
Is it,
Kevin.
Kevin?
Well, it's,
Oh, okay.
To make the announcement, Mr. Chairman, you'd like to excuse yourself?
Recuse or excuse?
You'd like to recuse yourself?
Yeah, I'll be recusing myself from these next two hearings.
Right.
This is my family-related property.
All right, so this is Rachel Kalin, trustee of Cherry Stone Realty Trust, 2040 Main Road, notice of intent?
Mr. Chair, I'd leave the room.
Yeah. We're good.
Throw them to Jason. How many you got?
Half a dozen on the 2040.
All right.
I sent them an email.
Yeah, we did get them today.
Yeah, got it.
Good evening, Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers, representing Cherry Stone Realty Trust, 2040 Main Road. This is a piggyback with the house in the front, 2058 Main Road, as there's some common elements to both these filings, so I'll explain them. 2040 Main Road is this house right here. It's a historic house built in the 1800s. Access is from Main Road along this existing laneway. Currently, the configuration, the shaded part you see will remain the same size. There is an existing septic repair plan that shows the septic system out here in the front yard towards the river. That's the standard septic system. What we're proposing to do, and it goes to the 2040, which is the house in front, is we're proposing a shared D-night septic system with an Elgin field here, which is further away from the river and will service both houses. The water will be serviced from this well up here, so we maintain the setback for the leaching field to this house. Additionally, because we're building this up here, because of the water table situation, we have to add some grading down along the septic system to meet the breakout requirements of the Board of Health. This system has not been in front of the Board of Health yet, it has not been approved, it will be very shortly. Additionally, the existing house right now has a walkout, what I would call walkout stone basement, that has basically a valley going down to the door. And what happens every time it floods, it goes into the basement. So the proposal here is to grade this up and make a flat area around the house with a new foundation, taper it off, going towards the river with this, just a small retaining wall and keeping it out above the 5-foot elevation, which is above basically a extreme moon tide. It is within the 100-foot riverfront area of this particular house. It is in the flood zone, so we're raising this up to be just about at the flood zone as best we could without having to grade further out towards the river. Riverfront is delineated by a existing seawall, which is licensed with existing dock for the hazard use of the structure. So we're considering 2040 right now. Cherry Stone Realty is this house. We have an application coming up that will be dealing with this house, but it's within the 200-foot riverfront. There's really nowhere to go with anything. The septic system is much more improved than the existing repair that was proposed and approved a couple of years ago at the Board of Health. We think it's a good solution as far as that. So we're asking to approve the grading work and the lifting of the house to get it above flood stage.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, Sean took a little out of order. He's doing 2040 Main Road first. So our agenda was messed up, Sean. It did say Cherry Stone, but I had the 2038 address. So Cherry Stone is actually 2040 Main Road.
Cherry Stone is
Realty Trust.
2040.
Okay, that's what we're going with first, okay?
Yep.
So for the record, we're taking the out of order here. It's no big deal. Same, for the record, this is the same owner, two separate trusts.
Correct.
Thank you. This is Rachel Kalin, trustee of Cherry Stone Realty Trust. The address of this property is 2040 Main Road. Applicant has filed a notice of intent before us with Sean Leach from Northeast Engineers and Consultants representing. The report date is April 24th, 2024. There is a file number for this project. It's SE 802743. For the record, this has Historical Commission approval on both these projects. Site visit was also on April 24, 2024. Description of the work. The owner has filed to raise the existing structure to prevent flooding damage. The existing structure is located within a 100-foot riverfront area. It falls within a velocity zone and has been affected by recent flooding. The structure will have the foundation raised to finished floor elevation of 12. This will prevent the seasonal storm floods not to damage the interior of the structure. This work is within an inner riparian zone of the riverfront area. The regulations allow the issuing authority to approve work on a site that has been in existence prior to 1997. It further states that in some sites, relocating work outside these limits is not feasible and shall be allowed to meet the requirements to the maximum extent feasible. As Sean mentioned, this is a very historic small lot. This falls within those parameters. Furthermore, the existing cesspool will be decommissioned per Title V regs and replaced with a new system. This system would be combined with the front house to lessen the impacts as well. Grading for the system and the raised structure will be, the system will be constructed within the lawn area and will require Board of Health final approval. Grading for the system and raised structure will be 57 feet from mean high water. A retaining wall is proposed at this point to maintain an undisturbed vegetated area between that and the river. Erosion controls will be installed at this point with no work allowed beyond. The limited small site work is proposed as to what is feasible given the constraints of this area. This is a buffer zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage and riverfront area. Recommendations: Westport Conservation should approve with a condition that erosion controls be the limit of all work. Site conditions limit ability to relocate activity outside the riverfront. So again, I think that this project, given those circumstances, is permittable under the Rivers Protection Act for its prior existence. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Any questions or discussion? If not, a motion? Anyone? No? If not,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all right, it's Kevin and Jake. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, so that's 20. 2040.
So now we're 2038,
Okay, just want to make sure we sign the right one here.
so this would be Driftwood Realty Trust, so you're signing 2040.
All right, same. That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Rachel Kalin, trustee for Drift Road Realty Trust, 2038 Main Road, notice of intent.
Again, Sean Leach, Northeast Engineers. This is the house on front, it's a historic house that has a 1980s addition on the back. That's going to be knocked down and replaced with a new addition that was approved by the Historical Commission. This is within the 200-foot riverfront area, but out of the flood zone. This too had an approved septic repair plan and design, and now we're scrapping that to the process of putting a Vantex system in here on this lot. This is the lot line between the two lots. That'll tie into the leaching field, which is on 2040, which is back here. So both will tie into the Vantex and total of 4-bedroom system all together. We think that's a good solution because the well that's here is a shallow well, like they all are, but for a point, going the well here is not an option. So they can share this well. It's an adequate 50-foot distance from the leaching field, so it meets the requirements. There's very little grading here. There will be some underground utilities installed in the laneway to service this house. Right now, it comes from a pole, crosses the laneway, pretty low. They're going to drop a riser and put underground utilities in here. There also is gas in this laneway that they're going to be upgrading. So they're going to be adding this thing, upgrading the house, upgrading the septic system. No grading proposed, or very little grading proposed. Everything's going to keep at the same elevation as it is. So there isn't much change. It's only got the component of the septic system that's within 100 to 200 foot area, and the addition is within the 200 foot riverfront area, but it's not in the flood zone.
Mr. Chairman and members, you good, Sean?
What's that?
You good?
Yeah, good.
Mr. Chairman, members, Rachel Kalin, trustee of Driftwood Realty Trust. This property is located at 2038 Main Road. The filing is a notice of intent. Sean Leach from Northeast Engineering Consultants is representing. Date of the report is April 24, 2024. The file number for this project is SEHO 2742. This also has Historical Commission approval. One thing I wanted to mention, I didn't mention in the last report, actually in historical areas, you're not required to meet the flood elevation. Whether or not you're in it or not, it's maintaining the historical character of the area, so the flood zone requirements do go out the window. So just for the record, Sean mentioning about meeting it as best he can there is adequate for the purpose of those rise in tides that have been coming in there, inundating actually that lower level and causing the building to be jeopardized by that wetness caused from that flooding. It's just for clarification. Description of the work: the owner has filed the construction addition to the existing home, install underground utilities and septic components. I said in the flood zone, but it's just in the riverfront area. The site falls within riverfront area and just outside the land subject to flooding of elevation 14. In the historical district, new structures do not subject to the elevation for finished floor and can maintain the elevation from the existing home. The underground utilities would be installed in the rear yard. A new septic tank components will be installed in the lawn and will be connected to a leaching field on the adjacent owned parcel. Erosion controls will be required to be installed around the addition construction, maintained until the area is seeded and stabilized. Activity within the riverfront area complies with the allowance to expand within the area as long as work is greater than 50 feet from mean high water. In this case, they are just in the outer reaches of that riverfront area. The addition is 410 square feet in size within the 4,550 square foot riverfront area. So the activity falls under the thresholds that would be required of them. So again, this is a riverfront activity on the lot of the main house, 2038 Main Road. Recommendation: Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed addition in the flood zone and the underground utility installation in the riverfront with standard conditions.
It's just my own curiosity. It's the same family that owns both properties, obviously. If they ever decided to break them up and they have a shared septic, would there, not that they would, but would there be room for another septic on?
Technically, there's two separate, oh, no, would there be room for a septic? The problem you have here is you have a good well, and, you know, down there, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's a shallow well. So the site of septic system over here would require, and the site of septic system over here requires a well being drilled for this house. Everything would be within 50 feet, including the septic systems, 30, 40 feet from the river, which makes no sense whatsoever. So, it was a good plan to like consolidate as much as you can and keep as many structures without disturbing everything in the riverfront as best you could.
Yes, they could sell it with obviously a descriptive easement in the sale of that property, describing that it's a shared septic system. So it would be a pretty detailed transfer of property, but yes, I think they could. There was originally a proposed septic repair, I believe A.J. Potter had represented for this property. And as Sean mentioned, it was smack dab in the middle of that lower area, and it also required a well attempt, which Sean's right, it's an attempt at a well, it may not be successful. And lastly, that is a cesspool right now.
Yeah.
So that structure does have its separate own sewage system. So that combined together is a large improvement for the uses of this.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Part of this structure, because there's technically two different owners, there will have to be an easement document that's filed with this to go.
That's why I was curious. We don't have a lot of single-family homes for the shared septic. We just don't see a lot.
Right, exactly. So there has to be a septic, because technically there are two owners to these properties.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
questions, comments from the audience? Commission?
So I move to approve the proposed addition to the property and the upgrade of the septic systems with standard conditions, subject to Board of Health approval.
Second.
All right. It's Phil and
Tom.
Tom. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Tom, wait a second.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Sean. That was really smooth. Yeah, too.
I heard it.
They don't. It's on your back.
It sounded like a deer in the headlights today.
The chaos in here.
You saw my agenda.
See if you wrote any notes about me.
Both hearings by Don. Okay, next we have Jason Ward, Westport Harbor Water Association, 755 River Road, care of Foxrock Capital LLC. 75 River Road, install new well field and buffer zone, and land subject to coastal storm flowage.
So I'm actually Gregory Russo. I work for Weston & Sampson. We're the environmental consultant supporting the Westport Harbor Water Association on this project.
Jason Ward's the owner.
Right, Jason Ward is the owner. So I have the green slips.
I'll take those.
In here. I also have the DEP number.
That we have for you, so we're all set with that.
Oh, you do have the DEP number. Okay. Cool. So the proposed work is to install a new well field at River Road. This would be to supplement existing wells further down the road. So it's 3 wells in a 20 by 5 foot trench there's an existing gravel access here already that would need to be extended just slightly to reach the trench area, and a proposed stockpile area for the soil to be then put back into the ditch for backfill. Altogether, it's 475 square feet of potential permanent impact in buffer zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage, potential for 300 square feet of temporary impact for the spoil pile. The site there's been a previous NOI approved for the site to do the test wells, and the previously completed and approved delineation lines completed by a different consultant with their data provided to us for this submission.
All right, Chris?
Mr. Chairman, Westport Harbor Water Association, obviously, they are entered into an agreement of easement on this property owned by Fox Rock Capital. So Westport Harbor is the applicant, that is the owner of the property that is negotiating with this association to create this access for these wells. However they create that, that is beyond our approvals. This is map 89, lot 119A and 120. This is a notice of intent application with Weston and Sampson here before us with their proposed public water supply system. Report date is April 26, 2024. The file number for this project with no adverse comments is SE 802736. We've also had some documentation from Mass DEP Public Water Supply Division for them accepting this tentative location with the requirements of a pump test, etc., be commenced following the installation. Detailed description of the work the applicant has filed to install the public water supply in the northeast portion of the lot. The work was previously approved to conduct exploratory well locations, and the wetland line was approved at that time. The work would fall within the buffer zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage. The area will have erosion controls installed around the construction area and is the limit of work for this well project. Construction access was installed with the previous filing and will be utilized as access for this work. 3 wells will be installed within an infiltration gallery excavated to the depth of 17 feet. Infiltration gallery will have a filter pack material added to the bottom of the trench. 3 8-inch diameter wells with screens and proper sanitary seals will be placed within this excavated trench. The trench will be filled further with filter pack and then covered with the stockpiled excavated soils. Each well will be extended approximately 4 feet below grade, 4 feet above grade rather. Minimal amount of filling is proposed in the buffer zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage. They're pretty much maintaining the existing elevations. No displacement of flooding is anticipated with work proposed. The Mass DEP water supply has accepted this proposed work for the allowance as a public water supply, pending again as their final pump test. This application does not include the piping necessary to install for future interconnections to reach the households. There is no any information represented on this plan to indicate how this water will get into the street and beyond. So I just wanted to make that clear. The applicants are required to restore the area around well number 1 that was installed as a test well in a wetland. Again, for this purposes, I think they need it as a comparison during their work that they're doing here, so I'm willing to allow that, but well number 1 is not proposed to be used in this final design. This should be removed and the area seeded with a wetland seed mix. That was part of this exploratory process, was them to obviously find area that may be suitable, and they believe they may have with this other location around the, well, 3 I think was the one that seemed to be the best location. So resource areas to be impacted is land subject to coastal storm flowage and buffer zone. I just have one general question before I read my motion. You guys have no concerns for sea level rise or any potential inundation from salt water that may inundate this area for quite some time? You know, we're seeing areas in the community. We talked about Richmond Pond Lane tonight. This is a very similar circumstance. This outflow is very more consistent, but who's to say we don't get something that impacts these wells? Saltwater intrusion, all these things come into mind with what you've experienced in the other areas that you currently utilize for your wells. And I just found that just to be concerning for, again, long-term use. I think you may find yourself trying to barricade these wells from maybe what Mother Nature may bring at us. That's just a question you may answer before I finalize. So recommendations, Westport Conservation should approve the proposed public water supply with this infiltration gallery design, including 3 8-inch wells placed within that. The work requires wetland restoration for well number 1, with a wetland conservation mix seeding within that disturbed area. Work is contingent on Mass DEP Water Supplies Division's approval process. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
you have any comments or questions before we get in?
I do not, you have a response?
No, I think
Well, hold on one second. If you want to speak, just come up, state your name at the podium, please. Just for the benefit of people who may be listening on TV.
I'm Caroline Fenn. I'm with the Westport Harbor Water Association. We share Chris's concern, obviously. But we are, as you know, we've been looking for a place to put our wells for years now, so we are a little jammed. We probably are gonna have to put some sort of a neck around it to protect the wellhead, but we think it will serve our purposes for at least several decades. That's the best we can do at this point. But we're really up against a wall here in terms of a well location. This is the only owner that's really been willing to work with us.
All right. Well, we had a public water supply on Main Road, the one near Pasolese. So just some questions, like, have you done any drawdown tests to see what, you know, I don't know, how much water you're gonna draw a day? And do you have storage tanks that you're gonna draw evenly at night so
No,
that,
we
you
have a
know?
storage tank. We have an established pump house down near, off Birch Rock Road,
Okay,
sort of southern end of Cocky's Pond.
all right.
Our average drawdown is about 10 to 12,000 gallons a day. It's not that much. When we were testing the viability of this site, we put monitors in the the Pond Meadow well and another private well, and there was negligible impact over the period of time that we ran the test. So obviously the pump test that we have to do for permitting is much more substantial, be 48 hours at peak capacity, and we'll see. But if anything, when the other wells were running, there was a small amount of effect on our water levels, but it recharged very quickly. So we're going in within the surface material. The other ones are aquifer wells. So we're not tapping into the exact same water source. We're trying to pull from a 50 acres of superficial material.
Are there any cold water fisheries or streams around there that are gonna be impacted? No? All right.
No, this is more coastally influenced, Mr. Chairman.
All right, those were my questions.
And the well's not in a wetland like the Main Road one was.
Right.
It's either, this is actually buffer zone.
All right.
But thank you for asking those. I
Well,
appreciate
we
it.
got quite an education on that when we did that project.
Well, I believe, and Carolyn said, she may answer, they have other hurdles. I believe there's an easement issue because this radius encroaches on the Pond Meadows. So there is other, I think, things that make this all come to fruition, so.
And we need to get easements from at least 2 abutters, and pretty confident we'll get them. If not, we're still gonna have to file for permitting, and we'll see. DEP's been really helpful. They've been trying to advise us on where to go, so we're just doing one step at a time.
Any other questions from the table?
Well, just a comment on the process, I think based on our previous experience with another public water supply, and just to kind of clarify, so this is approval to install the exploratory wells or to do the pump testing that's necessary to get the permit from DEP.
This is a primary public water supply that will be installed now. They already did the test exploratory, so this proposal is to be a public water supply.
Okay, so there's no further testing that DEP is going to do?
DEP is gonna make them do a 48-hour pump test, yes, they
Right,
will.
right,
Yes.
okay. Because so the way the previous one that we had looked at played out was that, and this relates a little bit to what the chair was saying, which is distinction between us approving the operation of the wells for the pump test, and then getting the information back to from DEP, and then approving the operation of the wells based on what DEP approved.
There are 2 filings.
Right. So, because then we would be applying the wetlands regulation standards to the operation of the wells, not necessarily to what was being done to essentially test the wells prior to approving the operation. I don't know if you will agree to that. It's kind of like coming back and presenting the information to the commission on what the drawdown was and, DEP signing off that, yes, this is going to be the maximum withdrawal, that kind of stuff. And then we looked at it at that point and approve it, or whether this is the last chance we'll have to review the project.
Chris, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know with the main road one, they had the exploratory, that was one, and then they did the notice of intent to install the equipment and do the test with DEP, and then they had to come back for an operational permit. Is that correct, or am I?
Everything done on the Maid Road project was done in a, not a corrective manner. They came in with the installation of wells in a big replication area that still to this date has never been done. So they altered over 2,500 to almost 3,200 square foot of wetlands to install those wells. So those wells were entirely put in a resource area. So that's where we had the parameters of piezometers and monitoring for the purpose of what the impacts on that wetland, if they would actually draw down the physical wetland
So
itself.
this is different, what you're saying?
So in this case, they came in with the exploratory paperwork,
Yeah.
they came in and drilled 3 locations, they went underground testing, and they finally got Weston and Sampson to come back after they had these initially done, and gave them an evaluation that they felt was a way to move forward. And this proposal, as you see now, is that proposal, already given the blessing from Mass DEP's public water supply. They do have a letter in writing that I have seen.
Yeah, we have the
You have a copy
WS
of it with you?
13 approval.
Do you have a copy of that letter with
I
you?
didn't bring it.
Okay, so I confer that to the members, so.
So this is just a final permit they're gonna get once they do the
No.
48-hour test? Yeah, I'm not demanding, I'm not saying we have to do it this way. I just want to be clear, to people on the commission, that what it is that we're doing, so either we're
Right.
being consistent or being inconsistent because the sites are really different.
Well, I
That's
would
what I'm
say
trying to
that in this case, the sites are very dramatically different.
Okay.
But I also would say that they still haven't shown us how this well is gonna service them, because there is no interconnection. So
Well, that's- yeah.
I can't approve them to install a well, piping in the roadway.
Well,
That's
I
the
understand
selectmen,
that, of
but
course.
some of that work is certainly within our jurisdiction,
Right,
so.
We'll
yeah.
be back.
I wasn't going that far, I wasn't going.
So
I wasn't
they
going
are
that
trying
far.
to move in a manner that gets them something positive, because as Carolyn mentioned, they've had nothing but negative. So they're hoping that this is an alternative.
Right.
I think in that WS 13 it says it, or if not, perhaps it was another communication, but we are also going to have to monitor wetland impact as part of our pump
No,
test.
they did have, again, I wish I had, because I know you did send it to me, please.
Yes,
I know
I'm
you
sorry, I
did.
didn't-
So I can make it available to the commission
I'm-
in an email, that way you can review the parameters that they have already identified.
We're proposing, is it a piezometer? By Cocky's Pond, and then one in the wetlands in between as well. And then that other well 1 that is in wetlands, we have an observation
Correct.
ability there as well. So we'll be looking at drawdown on abutting wells and wetlands impact, and crossing our fingers.
Okay,
All right.
well, okay.
Any other questions from the table?
How many houses are you looking to support with that?
We support 50 houses.
50, are those south of that or north of
Yeah,
that?
they're on the Cosset Point.
Okay.
So they're west of River Road and south of Heron Run, basically.
So that's where you're getting your 10 to 12,000 gallons a day? You're
Yeah,
doing like
we
300
have
or
2
400.
wells. They're 140, 50 years old now, and one we're under a state order to replace,
Okay.
and the other one we have massive salinity issues with.
What are the depths of these wells, would you say? What are the wells?
7.
Yeah,
That's it?
yep, because it's bedrock at 20 feet.
All right, any other questions from the table?
Is that seasonal, 10 to 12,000, or is that sort of average?
That's peak. Yeah, winter, it's more like 3 to 6. That on a holiday.
And so the plan is to move all down south through
Yeah, we have
piping?
a pump house. We want to keep the pump house where it is.
Okay.
As Chris has mentioned, we'll have to come back with plans to come down
To the
River
road,
Road.
yeah.
We're hoping to just run in the, in the border.
Any questions from the audience? No, we'll be safe. Okay. No other questions for a motion?
So I'll move to approve the proposed public water supply with an infiltration gallery design, including the three 8-inch wells placed within, require wetland restoration around well 1, and I guess removal of well 1 if it's not part of the final design. And the work is subject to DEP, Mass DEP, Water Supply Division approval.
And a final permit from us for the hookup, well, potential hookup to their pump station, depending on where it goes. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Kevin? And all's in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Good luck with your wells. Okay, Edward Carey, notice of intent, 504 River Road, SE 82721, extend existing licensed float and maintain existing floats and seawall. Is he here?
Cool.
Ed Carey?
Ed Carey's continued.
Oh,
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I left you hanging.
no problem.
Ed Carey's continued to the last meeting in May.
So
4 weeks.
28th, okay. So I need a motion to continue Edward Carey, notice of intent, 504 River Road, SE 82721, for 4 weeks, which is the 28th of May.
Make a motion, continue 4 weeks.
You have a second?
Second.
Second from Tom, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Jason and Tom Merchant, 4 weeks. Elephant Rock Beach Club, notice of intent, 147 Atlantic Avenue, restore coastal dune and beach with washover debris from the road and flood zone in Barrier Beach. Sean, how are you?
Accusing myself from this one.
This is a continuance.
himself.
We did not have a file number issued previously. There is a file number now issued. Also, Amy Welke at the Mass DEP wanted a narrative to go along with that, and I submitted a narrative to both the conservation agent and to the DEP.
2730.
2730.
Just to refresh, there were several breakthroughs on Atlantic Avenue, on Barrier Beach, Cockey's Pond. Most of it ended up in the parking lot and parking areas in and around that are already established. They gathered those to a pile to fill in the breaches that were in, there was an existing walkway, this breach, there was a couple other breaches, there's one further down that actually closed up by itself very nicely. So they're proposing to take the material that came off the beach, put it back on the beach, and also plant dune grass. They've missed that window, I think. Plant the dune grass along where they're creating essentially the dunes over again. So that's all that's being asked for. We do have comments from National Heritage, and they're very typical for this time of year for the piping clovers and whatnot. They're hoping to get this thing stored. They do have a beach management plan, and they do have a monitor down there keeping track of everything that's going on. My understanding, there are 2 plovers that have been around, and they're way down towards the west end of the beach, but they've been monitoring and looking and waiting for this. So.
All right, Chris?
Mr. Chairman, Elephant Rock Beach Club, Atlantic Avenue, this is a notice of intent application filed by Northeast Engineers and Consultants, Sean Leach representing. Report date is April 22nd, 2024. There is a file number, IC 802730. This was written for the last meeting. Natural Heritage and Endangered Species comments have also been received. Site visit was on April 22nd, 2024. Description of the work: the Elephant Rock Beach Club has filed to restore a section of primary coastal dune that was breached in 3 locations during the January and December storms. The breach deposited the sand materials along East Beach, Elephant Rock Beach Club, Cockey's Pond access, and in the parking lot. The sand was placed at the sand will be placed at the 3 breach dune areas and some onto the beach. Elephant Rock Beach Club shall be required to have a bird biologist on site before the project begins to monitor this piping plover activity. Since this, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to skip some of this. Sean, again, asked for a continuance. In the meantime, the club has hired Jamie Bogarts from the Lloyd Center, and on April 22nd, activity was commenced in response to the bird biologist Jamie Bogart's suggestion. The piping plovers have begun nesting, as Sean mentioned, to the west of this area, and the work needed to get completed this week before further nesting either moved into the area or they established their locations. Again, this was all done on the watchful eye of the bird biologist. It was his suggestion. I know a member called me with concerns, and they rightfully did not have approval from us, but given the April 1st time frame to be doing work had expired, they were utilizing his best suggestion. So, again, Jamie's been doing this for many years. He also represents other beach clubs in the area. He's now representing the Rhode Island section of our community as well as Elephant Rock Beach Club. So I want that to be aired out. So they followed all the procedures that are required under the piping plover management requirements, having a bird biologist be there 48 hours, have him be present during the work. So they took the material that they had stockpiled across the road and placed it within these areas and then worked their way out and closed in that area along Atlantic Ave. So with that said, recommendations: the Westport Conservation should approve the replacing the overwashed sand onto the breach dunes and beach areas as shown on the submitted plan with the conditions that Elephant Rock Beach Club develop and continue to maintain their beach management plan. The bird biologist be on site during all proposed activities. Sample of beach materials, if they do propose any, is provided to the office. And snow fencing to be utilized during the winter months for sand collection. I think this club really doesn't take that into consideration on how much sand they really can claim just by collecting it and utilizing it later in the year. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
So you're not adding any new sand?
They're not adding any new sand, no, Mr. Chairman. They're only utilizing what they had
Do we have copies
reclaimed.
of the beach manager plan in the office?
We do have a copy, yes.
We do, okay, so.
Yes. And furthermore, the Heritage has commented in my last that these conditions, time of year restrictions apply. Everything I said, their standard conditions apply for any coastal activity in plover habitat.
Right, since if they miss the window, they have to hire a biologist to watch the work.
That's, yes, work after April 1st requires a biologist to be present.
All right. Any questions from the table? No? Questions from the audience? Come right up here, ma'am, just state your name and...
My question just goes to how, if there's any plan to manage future breaches, because some of the breaches have been closed, but there's a walkway from the, they've converted that road down to Cocky's Pond into a parking lot. So there's this parking lot, and there's a pathway right across from one that has not been closed. So the bulldozer's been working there all week. It's mostly rock right now, actually, that's been moved up and has closed other breaches. That's still open, and the next time we get a storm, it's just gonna blow wide open again. So
Through the chair, if I may, they're entitled to have access to the beach, which those paths have been there for quite some time. We're not talking the Palma fiasco that took place on the beach and all that other stuff. If anybody, these members may not recall, but I certainly do. They are trying to obviously adhere to the requirements. I have not, to be honest, haven't been down there since they did the initial work, but I will encourage them that path should be no more than 40 inches wide. It shouldn't be a car width wide. They should be administering snow fencing in places to try to collect sand. And, I've been monitoring their uses of this access to Cocky's Pond. And if you look at the aerial photos, there is some subsequent increase, but again, our biggest concern was the parking lot, so it's almost like a catch-22 with Cherry and Webb. We sell 1,800 passes and there's only parking for 400 people. So, in this case, they do use that as overflow.
Yeah.
But I feel stronger now because they do have a bird biologist on their
That's good to
side.
hear, yeah.
And that they're working with that. But lastly, yes, they are past the window for beach grass planting, but they did ask me where they could potentially get product, and that is from New Jersey. I don't know how well they could get some at this quickly, but that is where the source would be. But yes, they should absolutely reestablish vegetation in these areas, and thank you, Carolyn. We can make that as a condition, that these areas be revegetated with native coastal dune species.
All right, any other questions?
So, question for, I guess, Chris and Sean. I guess, can we, and should we require snow fencing as part of our approval?
You can just, again, it's part of their beach management plan. We don't need to, because that's something we're giving them, a device that helps protect and add sand. So if they don't want to, I can't force them to, but it's recommended. We've seen it firsthand. You know, Jake is very successful with it at Baker's, where you bury the stuff to the point you've collected so much sand. So it is something I'm trying to get them to understand.
They're losing a lot underneath the pavilion itself. Yeah. A tremendous amount. Like right now, the stairs that came off the deck are probably this high off the beach, right? So after a couple of years of watching what's going on, I think they've agreed to do something about it.
Yeah,
So-
it's not gonna do the road any good, it doesn't do the butters any good, so it's
Yeah.
probably.
Oh, no,
It's only good for them, and they
Good for them,
Yeah,
yeah.
in the pond.
Yeah,
It
okay.
only has to be just a few T sections just to collect it. And
Yeah, okay.
No other questions, we'll accept the motion.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, second.
Motion from Jake, second from Jason, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous, so.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Sean, please convey to the person you're in contact with our concerns, okay?
Okay.
Because they don't necessarily read the fine print of these special conditions.
I think they're in agreement with what you were saying, so.
Thank you.
Jesus. All right, next hearing is, let's see, Mass Division of Marine Fisheries, Notice of Intent, Gooseberry Neck, SE 802730, eelgrass transplanting for habitat restoration in subtidal area. He was here, I saw him, yeah. He's there, he's hiding.
As far as you can reach that button, I think, right? I think it's the power button. Yeah. I think you might have to close. Is that what you use before?
Go extension.
Longer last time, that's all right.
What's that?
I think it was
I
longer
had an
last
extension
time.
cable last time, yeah.
Maybe.
There's one piece down there on the floor.
It's warm enough. It's right on your shoulder there, so.
Right.
There you go, Captain. Good.
Hi, so Forrest Mann here with Masters Division of Marine Fisheries. The project continued from our last meeting, so I'll be pretty brief in my overview. But the purpose here is to restore eelgrass off of East Fork Beach in Westport. And the reason, the purpose here of the project is to bring back important fish habitat. Eelgrass is one of those important habitats in the state. It also provides a number of other ecological functions that benefit our coastal areas, including sequestering carbon and limiting coastal erosion. And So the project site here is off of East Horseneck Beach, adjacent to Gooseberry Neck. We previously proposed a site that was right in the middle of the beach, closer to Gooseberry Neck, but following comments from the commission and residents, we've looked into the habitat parameters around that as well, and we're able to move it northeast about half a mile, so that's outside of the, not directly in front of any of the private properties on the beach, it's in front of the state, or sorry, not the state, the town beach property there. And it's also farther away from the Gooseberry Neck Causeway, which we were again alerted in the last meeting. There's some potential work upcoming on that causeway, potentially remove it, and so this will also separate the restoration plots from really immediate impacts, we think, from that work, potential work as well. Just have a couple more figures here to kind of show in more detail from where the original site was proposed to moving it closer to the east. Again, we moved as far east as we can while keeping it really in Westport. You can't see here, but the town border is basically right here with Darby. And there's some eelgrass mapped close by as well, which is encouraging in terms of it being a potentially successful spot, since there is some habitat there already. In terms of, again, just quick summary on the timeline. We're hoping to test plot this spring, which will then be followed by 2 years of monitoring to assess whether the site can truly be successful. Again, we've done monitoring in terms of water quality and light availability at this site, as well as sediment, which we think all are checking the boxes as suitable, but eelgrass restoration is very challenging and it's multifaceted, and ultimately whether the plants can survive or not at our site is really the true test, and so we don't want to go full bore right away. We'd like to do test plots first, and again, if those are successful, we then consider moving to a full-scale restoration, which would be a half an acre at the site. The method would involve transplanting the mulch shoots, likely from the lush meadows on the side of the Westport River to the site. And yeah, that'll open up for questions and comments. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Chris, do you have a new report?
Mr. Chairman, just briefly, I spoke to Forrest about the change in location. At the last meeting, I think some proponents before and against, the consensus came to basically trying to relocate it from the general middle vicinity of East Beach. I think Forrest has made a fair approach to relocate it to what he feels is feasible for the conditions that he needs to adequately attempt this recolonization of eelgrass. So I would suggest to the commission that a motion be considered for acceptance. It is a compromise. I think it benefits the marine habitat in itself, but there's still going to be people that are against it, and I understand that. Those individuals that may be abutters have the right to appeal this to Mass DEP as such an abutter, and they can maybe have the state consider this. But given the circumstances and its location, being in the open ocean, I think the commission has limited jurisdiction and oversight in that Commonwealth of Mass land. So I feel favorable of the relocation, and I think the commission could approve it with that tonight.
All right. Any questions from the table or comments?
I have comments, but I reserve it to hear comments from the
All right, anybody in the audience have anything they want to say? You can just, come on, just stand
Just
there.
ask if it's different, Mr. Chairman. Are there different comments?
Yeah, hopefully. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Tony Vivenzio,
Okay.
East Beach resident. I just wanted to see the map a little bit more closely. So this looks like this is in front, this is where the town beach is that correct?
Use the one to the left, you can see where it's prior. If you can use the one to the left, that's where it was, and then it's moving to the star.
Yeah, that is entirely in front of the town beach.
Yep.
Just shy, if you show your right hand, you'll be at the town line. So the
Yes.
town line is right there, correct?
Yeah, town line, okay, it's private lots, and then this is all town beach, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're thankful that Forest and the Division of Marine Fisheries was open to input in relocating in front of the town-owned properties. So I think we're good with his proposal at this point.
Thanks. Any other comments? You can come on up, Angela.
Andrea Siren. I live in Westport on Gillian Way, plus I also have a beach lot down here. Forrest, thank you, for making the effort. I'm still perplexed why it didn't go down towards Gooseberry. I'm somebody who also has a beach pass every year. There is no parking at Cherry and Webb. So you get a Saturday, Sunday, nice day. You go to East Beach, you're heading down there. For the arguments that were made the last time Forrest was here, moving it down or around towards state-owned land to me is better. And I do realize it's out in the water, it's a slow road, everything that you said, I appreciate it. As a taxpayer and somebody who has always gone to the beach, I wouldn't think anyone in this town would want, on our very limited town access beach, to try to encourage eelgrass and then to try to propagate it in such a large manner. We also don't want fishing right there. We don't want, we have a lot of activity that's in the area. It's actually a place I go quite a bit. So I'm just saying, I don't understand. Plus, we all know it was in the headlines all winter about the washover in the area. So if we're trying to get a better area for this eelgrass to be successful, this definitely doesn't seem to be the area. We lost the whole road there. So I don't quite get this movement in this direction. This isn't what we talked about the last time. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else have a comment? No. All right.
So,
Phil?
So I think my comment is that, and not to repeat the point that's already been made about how important eelgrass is for a lot of reasons, but for this particular area, the fact that it is a natural resistor to storm surge seems to be in itself an important reason why we should be developing this and testing it and see if it can work there. Because there is not going to be, as far as DEP is concerned, any revetment or any structure that is going to be, other than natural structures, to protect these beaches from storm surge. This is a potential solution to that, not only to protect the beach, but to protect the road. So to create a test site that's going to establish that this will work functionally in that way and that you could propagate it, you'd be saving the beach. And so to me, it's counterintuitive not to go ahead with this, and I hope we approve it.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Tom?
So just the language, so it says restoration, this whole thing. Is there a reason to believe that this used to have eelgrass everywhere?
So there are some historic maps. They date back to the 90s. 95 was really the first comprehensive mapping in the state for eelgrass. They do suggest that there was larger eelgrass meadows off of this beach at that time. Again, we're limited in our data going farther back than that. But that was one of the reasons why this area was selected. I don't show it here in this video. This is just a current mapping, but there was a larger meadow in that area.
And so you haven't surveyed the whole area?
We have. So the state does an aerial survey, which picks up most of the high density eelgrass, and we have done ground truthing with drop cameras on a boat at these sites. That suggests that there is no longer eelgrass there. So the fact that the aerial survey is not picking up, nor does it pick it up in our survey site there.
So in the restoration process, is there consideration for why it may have disappeared, and if you're not really fixing that?
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge, and definitely a main challenge for restoration. It's hard to pinpoint often the exact cause of these things, and sometimes it's a combination of factors. We're seeing increased storm activity, which could be a problem in certain areas. Again, you have a 100-year event or a 10-year event that can take a long time for these systems to naturally recover from, and so we can enhance that, we can gain habitat more quickly, and there's benefit in the interim before we have another event like that. I think there's, on a larger scale, there's, our climate's changing in other ways as well, in terms of temperature, and that's another challenge, but we hope that, and of course, there's also input from coastal development and the nutrients and that challenge to our estuaries, but because this is an open coastal site compared to in the Westport River, for example, we think it's less vulnerable to those stressors than the site of the river.
Just to say, I think, just in comment, the nitrogen levels in the West Branch have decreased to the point that they added 300 acres of eelgrass in the West Branch over the past few years. So.
It was planted?
No, it just grew naturally.
It grew naturally.
It just grew naturally. It just grew naturally, yeah.
So we're hoping, yes, the water quality is, again, we're slowly turning corners in these coastal systems as we improve our water quality and wastewater management. So we've seen benefit both natural and conservation.
Anybody else? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had one other comment I forgot to make.
Go on, okay.
The one thing I wanted to just bring to our attention, just to think about this from a planning standpoint, is the Climate Resiliency Committee and the Planning Board have both forwarded a set of memos. I think Conservation was copied on them, related to future planning for East Beach. And some of that planning discusses preserving the beach's coastal research through beach nourishment. And then they're looking at a 2-grant sequence from CCM. The first is to develop the beach management plan, and the second would be for potential beach nourishment on a large scale. So a large-scale beach nourishment project along East Beach, may interact. This is something to think about from a planning perspective. It may interact with this. And typically, beach nourishment profiles go well beyond the beach itself because they're settling the material. Also, the nourishment projects are quite expensive. The estimate is somewhere between $800,000 and $2 million. So they're looking at other options such as reuse of the dredged material from Westport River. In that scenario, the current reuse plan, just so you can envision it, is to dump this along the east end of the State Beach Reservation. And it's something like, I think, 1,500 feet long dump area that's 80 feet wide, and they're looking to dump between 65,000 and 75,000 cubic yards of sand in that location. And then we've talked with the Corps of Engineers about either potentially rerouting or with a subsequent dredge, because dredge will be an ongoing maintenance operation, to do something similar along East Beach as potentially a less expensive way to do the nourishment. Just as an option to explore. But in any case, like large-scale nourishment could interact, so it's just something to think about. If you're talking about that quantity of sand, things can get buried.
Mr. Chairman, if I just make one comment to that, to the chair. We spoke with CZM on the particular dredge materials, and in her opinion, they're too fine to be placed on a beach, and they would not be something that would be allowed in that use. Secondly, this contract has already been out, and there is no changing what the Army Corps has approved. The dredging material is going off Horse Neck. It's a done deal. There's no way we can change that unless the town stops it and it goes re-out to bid, and there probably would be a 5 to 6 year wait for that to happen again. So there's been a lot of discussion of that rerouting. That material is not being rerouted. And again, it doesn't meet the requirements to be placed on a beach.
Right.
Just so the members know. So
We got that letter that said they're gonna put it off the beach and some may wash up, some may.
I did throw you all those correspondence so that you could be on the same page with that.
All right,
So-
do we have, if you guys have more comments, ready for a motion?
No, my only comment was that Forrest didn't have to do this, didn't have to make these changes.
Right.
He did, so we appreciate it.
All right, do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
That was Jason and Phil. All those in favor?
Hold, Mr. Chairman, if you just make the statement that you approve for the relocation
Make a
of
motion to
the,
approve the relocation.
to the northeast portion of East Beach. That way, for the record, it shows that it actually was.
As presented on April 30th.
Yeah.
Okay?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Sal.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have Martin Keller, 216 Cadman's Neck Road extension.
Martin Keller is an extension at 216 Cadman's Neck Road. The applicant, file number SE 802575. The owner is requesting an extension for 3 years. This was to rehabilitate a seawall in front of the property, but it encompassed a lot of access for a road to the edge of the shoreline, and they haven't been able to get anybody to give them consideration for this at this time. So the Westport Conservation should approve the request to extend file number SE 802575 for 3 years. Martin Keller.
Do a motion?
Motion to move.
Second?
Second.
Jake, Bert, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous, Sal.
Hey, Forrest, you gonna be diving that site anytime soon?
Yeah, we will be.
So last year, I helped the Watershed Alliance. They put like a stainless steel, like a helical anchor.
Yes,
It's-
yeah.
All right, it's between your original site and the new site. If you see it, it's gonna be a stainless pipe coming out of the ground about that far.
We'll look, yeah.
It might be tilted over, who knows? We're gonna try to find it in the
If you
spring.
have coordinates,
We have rough coordinates.
send them our way.
Yeah.
We'll be out there, so.
Yeah, if you see it, that's what it is.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we won't move it if you don't want us to. but-
No.
Yeah.
I just,
You need a tool to move it.
want a couple,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
spare a couple fluke for me.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
All right, we have,
Thank you.
thank you for,
Thank you.
that was approved unanimously, by the way.
Okay, sorry, I was.
Yeah,
That's
no,
fine.
no.
I know you're busy, that's fine.
I'm gonna email you
Okay,
a
we'll
copy.
touch on-
I'll email you a copy of the order and get you, so you can move your project forward.
Great, well, yeah, we'll be in touch. I don't think we'll get out there until later in May, to be honest.
All right?
So, but I'll be. Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
Loosening up a little bit.
So we have bills for East Bay Media. This is for advertising, $430.50.
Motion to
pay. Motion from Kevin, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Bert, all in favor?
Kevin's paint
Opposed?
kills.
Okay, that's unanimous, all. Minutes from 4:16. Present, myself, Mr. Powell, Mr. McGuigan, Burton. Okay, we're all here. Everybody else is absent, so the four of us. So these minutes from 4:16 were distributed to the members who were present. If there are no changes, I'll be looking for a motion.
Motion approved.
Do we have a second? If you get to make a motion.
Oh, second.
Okay. That was Jake and Jason. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous, so. It's okay, Jason.
It's a being at home. I'm just like, hold it. Don't think, just do it.
All right. We have, enforcement order, Chris, to be issued.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like me to do a report, yes.
Do you have a report?
I do.
Then go ahead and read it, buddy.
Mr. Chairman,
Is this a new one?
it's not always the time of year, but it's this time of year that things start to happen. So I request an enforcement action be taken on Rick Costa, 1090 Drift Road. We received a complaint, reviewing the aerial footage. It's very clear that the owner has filled an area under our jurisdiction without any permit approvals. These areas classify as either isolated land subject to flooding, but they also fall within land subject to coastal storm flowage, so this area may also be potential vernal pool jurisdiction. So, again, this homeowner initiated this work with disregard to the act. He's fully aware that these areas were jurisdictional, so I ask that we issue an enforcement order with the specifications that the applicant restore the areas with an engineered drawn plan submitted to the commission, and potential plantings needed to restore back to its prior condition.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the issuance of the order.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
All right, that was, Bert was second on that one. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
All right, pass that down. Did you say you had another one you saw when you were at Charlotte Road or something like that?
You have very good memory, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I do.
The second one I have, but I just sent a letter today to these homeowners. This is a home at 306 Charlotte White Road. This is a Robert Medeiros and Dana Medeiros. They initiated clearing of their wooded area behind their house, but what they're not aware of, the limit is there for a reason, because it's wetland. So I submitted a letter to them informing them that they need to cease and desist and get in contact with the office. I did this for this particular person because they're not necessarily familiar. I think their recent purchases, this property tends to change hands every 2 to 3 years for some reason, so.
Where's 306?
306 is almost up to the top, heading towards Sodom Road. It's on your left-hand side, right next to Orr. If you know where Orr grows those beautiful tomato plants in that greenhouse, it's the next house next door. So the house is set way back off the road, and the wetland is just therefore in the woods. There is no ability to expand. So that's what I explained in the letter. I expressed to them that there really is no area that they can go further to, so this may require restoration. So that would be, make a motion to accept the letter sent to Robert and Dana Medeiros at 306 Charlotte White Road for clearing of an area within the commission's jurisdiction.
So what are you asking them to do?
I'm asking them to contact the office, and we will make measures to see what is needed to restore it. They haven't stumped it, so I think the stumps will sprout, so I'm trying to stop them from going any further before. That's why I did it quick, because as soon as they remove that stumps, they lose all that natural process of restoration.
Do we have a motion?
Move to affirm the letter that was issued.
Okay.
Second.
Bill and Kevin, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Bill. What else you have, Mr. Chris?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, look for a motion to adjourn.